And to discuss how the conflict in Ukraine has impacted the states across Central Asia, joining me now from Washington, D.C. is Margarita Assenova. She is a senior fellow at the Jamestown Foundation. And from Baku, Ahmad Shahidov. He is a political analyst. A warm welcome to you both, and thank you very much for joining me on Strait Talk. Margarita, let me begin with you. What impact has Russia's attack on Ukraine had on the overall political landscape of Central Asia?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me today. Russia's role in Central Asia has been mostly in the security domain, which comes also with political influence. And China, at the same time, has achieved economic superiority over Russia in the region. Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine has changed Russia's position in Central Asia dramatically. We may not see it yet, and their governments may not be reacting overtly at the change, but the change is there. First, because Russia attacked a country that is a neighboring country, a peaceful country, because it wanted to expand its so-called Russian world. And that made states like Kazakhstan very nervous, since it has its own 20% Russian population located mostly along the border with Russia. It has also incited anti-Russian sentiment among the ethnic Kazakhs, which is also worrying the governments because this can stir internal ethnic conflict. But secondly, Russia has lost strategically the war. It's already a strategic loss, and this is going to have the biggest impact on security of Central Asia and on its alliance with Russia.
So, Ahmed, what's your view? How have Central Asian countries like Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan reacted to Russia's attack on Ukraine? I mean, how have they navigated their relations with Moscow so far?
Yes, thank you. The whole Europe and the Western world has already mobilized against Russia today. Of course, Russia is also trying to gather more countries around it, but today only Belarus is openly supporting Moscow. But on the other hand, the Russian-led collective security treaty organization should also be mentioned. And in the event of a threat to Russia's security, the organization will do its part. And this organization includes Turkish states such as Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. And it is the fact that prevents the Turkish states from acting together. And today in post-Soviet countries, each country is beginning to think about its sovereignty and security of its borders, because Russia has great potential to influence these countries, especially Asian countries. I mainly mean the former Soviet republics. And because after the collapse of the Soviet Empire in 1991, Russia's main goal was to reunite these countries under its own umbrella. And so Russia's military presence in a number of countries raises concerns about Moscow's military operations in Moscow. Today, Georgia, Moldova, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, and other countries have to be more careful with Moscow, and because of problems of Abkhazia and Ossetia in Georgia, Transnistria in Moldova, and the Karabakh issues in Azerbaijan have become means of Russia's influence in these countries.
So, Margarita, what could you tell us about how these countries are trying to walk a fine line with Russia? Is this balancing act sustainable given Russia's growing isolation in the world?
Well, we can already see the distancing of the countries in Central Asia from Russia. They're looking for other avenues for trade, for example. They're trying to export more to the European Union. They are trying to export their oil and gas through Azerbaijan and Turkey to other parts of the world, because they don't want to be dependent on an economy that is now riddled by sanctions and is going to be crippling very soon. But in terms of security arrangements, we saw the CSTO summit yesterday. It wasn't a happy day for Vladimir Putin. All of the leaders had different opinions, different concerns. Central Asian leaders were talking about Afghanistan and anti-terrorism, while Belarus and Russia were talking about Ukraine. So there is dysfunction already in the CSTO. In my prediction, it's going to grow further.
So, Ahmed, is Kazakhstan and let's say other Central Asian countries are factoring in the possibility of getting sanctioned by the West if they openly supported Moscow?
As well as other countries in Central Asia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, and Tajikistan are seriously concerned that what happened in Ukraine could happen in those countries at any time. That's why they are very attentive to join any sanctions against Russia. And from the other hand, most of these countries are ally of Russia in collective treaty agreement organization and under influence of Russia. For example, in Kazakhstan, what happened in February it is the part of Russian influence in Kazakhstan, and the other countries in Central Asia, I mean Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan are also part of this influence. So I don't think that these countries will join to these sanctions against Russia. But in fact, if any threat to security and sovereignty of Russia, I think that this country have to join to Russia's military against these sanctions.
So, Margaret, you have mentioned the security dimension, but how has the conflict in Ukraine, as well as the sanctions imposed on Russia, affected the economies of Central Asian nations so far?
The sanctions are affecting the economies very, very badly. They affected the economies of Central Asia back in 2014, 2015, when the sanctions were introduced because of the annexation of Crimea. We remember the inflation, we remember the struggles of those economies to recover. And just as they managed to recover a little bit, the COVID pandemic struck. Now they are facing with a lot of economic difficulties because they are trapped in the economic union with Russia. Their trade arrangements with Russia may stay, but they are connected to their ability to trade with the West. So there are 5 countries only in the Eurasian Economic Union, and we may see them trying to make other arrangements for free trade zones with countries like Turkey, more trade arrangements with the European Union, so that they can be less dependent on Russia. Besides, the security situation is going to have a very significant impact on these countries as well, because Russia is facing a serious defeat in Ukraine. If that happens, the Russian Federation itself may start fracturing, because the Russian Federation has other problems with demographics, with political problems, economic problems itself, even before the war against Ukraine. So the war in Ukraine may speed up this process, which is going to force Central Asian countries to seek other arrangements, other agreements, and fast.
So, Ahmed, we know these countries are dependent on Russia when it comes to trade, security assistance, energy, and source of jobs. Could they easily decouple from Russia? And are there any significant alternatives for them? I mean, Margarita mentioned Turkey and China, but what else? Could this provide an opportunity for deeper cooperation with Central Asian countries, between the Central Asian countries as well as European countries?
Of course, all these sanctions against Russia impact not only Russia and Belarus, of course, as well as these countries in Central Asia and other countries which are dependent on Russia, because millions of people, citizens from Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, they are working in Russia and earning money. That's why all these countries are worrying about and looking for alternative ways, and the only country is alternative is Turkey, because Turkey especially stands and push a very neutral policy in this war, and looking for peace negotiations in Ukraine. Turkey is the unique country which is the member of NATO, also is the very push this negotiation process between Ukraine and Russia. Of course, these Turkish states countries such as Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, they are looking to Turkey as an alternative way. And in fact, Turkey has a very great potential to unite all these countries under its umbrella.
Yes.
And all these countries, such as Azerbaijan, looks to Turkey as guarantee of their sovereignty, security, and all other issues.
Okay, all right, Margarita and Əhməd. Unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining me on Strait Talk. And that's all for this edition of Strait Talk with me, Ayse Suberker. Next time, I'll break down the Turkish foreign minister's visit to the U.S., where defense deals, NATO and Ukraine will all be covered. Until then, if you've got any comments, follow us and tweet us at Strait Talk TRT. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, take care and goodbye.